Take 4. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Ryan is not here. He is the shadow dev in the shadows, but he will be back later.
In the shadow realm.
Yeah, in the actual shadow realm. But man, we wanted to talk to you about this update and future updates. So, this was a big update that Travis is going to talk about.
Oh, fantastic. No, so we added a majority of our abilities to this update. So basically what you guys are seeing now are going to be the cornerstones as well as the foundation of our abilities going forward. We are going to add some minor trees in the future, but these are going to be the significant hard hitters that you're going to be, playing with. We also added the race Exalted, and you guys are now playing with all those mutations and horrifying concepts that I've already seen character art of, and they haunt me in my dreams.
In addition to that, because we really wanted to push out all of the character creation rules, we also added a bunch of merits and flaws. It's about 90% of what will be in the final book, and hopefully we'll see a lot of fun characters being made with all of those wonderful, wonderful merits and even better flaws.
Yeah, we also added a full Mancy Biomancy. It includes your ability to know your internal processes going on and some other people if you're able to, get your hands on them. And then it also allows you to shape your appearance, not clothes or anything, just physical, bone structure, skin color, eye color, hair color, all that kind of deal. Purely cosmetic. And then later down the line, you are able to shift and twist your body in order to make horrifying mutations that the Exalted already have, but you're able to adapt to any situation with them. It also has, so far, our only real healing ability in Acheron, and that is the way it's kind of going to stay. Healing in Acheron, are trying to make sure that we don't trivialize any of the horror of the actual game itself. We also have introduced a background system that Joe's been working on.
Yeah, so we, with this update, went through a lot of different iterations for our background system and ultimately decided that simpler is better. We wanted it to be as open as possible. So the way it works is you will have a background based on a certain skill, and the amount of ranks that you have in that skill determines your proficiency in the background. So if you go from a high school athlete all the way up to a all-star professional, it's going to be based on your skill in athletics, say, and your pay is based on that. So we figured that was the best way to have as many options open as possible for what people wanted to do. Keep it fairly standardized as far as people not gaming the system and making a bunch more money than other people just because they say, well, I'm a doctor, and you wanted to be a coal miner so you don't get any money for it.
And I mean, it also allows the kind of idea that other role-playing games don't really incorporate. It doesn't make sense if you have only you have no ranks in medicine, but you are a doctor. It helps encourage roleplay in that way, and also it is kind of up to your archivist to determine if you are a different role in that society. Like for the tax collectors, for instance, you need knowledge accounting. Well, if you're a doctor in the tax collectors, because they do need doctors, people do get hurt, you can use medicine instead. But it's essentially all going to be the same amount of progression. They're going to need a pretty professional doctor if you want to be ordering around other people.
Yeah. In addition, we also added 11 minor factions, so you can see how those are going to be formatted. We're going to probably have anywhere around 40 in the final book. And we also obviously did a lot of formatting. We have an editor now who's been looking through and giving us suggestions. Another thing that took a lot of time was figuring out how to best communicate the ability trees.
Yeah.
So that took a while.
That took a lot of time.
And that covers everything pretty much in this update. There was also some obvious minor changes, and you'll find those, but they're not too significant. And in the next update, which we hope to get out a lot faster, so by next month, we're going to have an updated character sheet. We're going to expand the equipment list to give everyone a lot more weapons to play with and some armors to play with. We're going to add sundering rules. So sundering is becoming a bigger and bigger thing because of the way our armor system works and the way soul menders work, which we'll get to later. We need the sundering system to be both easily usable and also
comprehensive.
Yeah, comprehensive. So, like one of the things you can do with it is break a soul mender's arm, but it can also be used to break through cover, to strip armor off of enemies. So if you're going against a high armored enemy and you didn't bring any armor piercing bullets, then you're going to have to sunder that armor before you can actually do damage. So we're going to get those rules in there and get everyone's feedback before we finalize everything with the Soulmender race. And the last thing we're going to include in this next update is Necromancy.
So, Necromancy is going to be the opposite of Biomancy. A mechanic that we haven't really introduced to you guys yet is that you are going to be unable to choose the opposite of whatever Mancy you choose. Currently, we don't have any opposites, like opposing forces, so if you really want to take Biomancy, Magneticism, and Pyromancy, yeah. But there is going to be a flip side to each one of these coins. We're going to add Necromancy next to offset Biomancy, but also to offset Soul Menders that we're entering in. Because Necromancy is your control of undead matter, so something that used to be alive, and also your ability to control the soul itself. Necromancy will allow you to raise hordes of the undead and typical things that you see in other necromancy, fuse things together, make your own horrid creations. But you'll also be able to, as a roleplay aspect to it, be able to detect people who are dead, figure out how they died in a relatively easy way compared to other people. You're basically your own forensics kit. You also will have the ability to touch soul metal and be able to commune with a soul that is trapped inside. Now, we haven't really told you guys about soul menders, so I'm just going to go over the brief general concept with you guys. So soul menders in our world are the captured souls of people. You know, this can be dark leecher and human alike. For whatever reason, your family bought you a soul mender body before you passed away, and your soul got sucked into a coin that was able to be forged into a phylactery, or you were a gray factory worker that had a life insurance policy before he got carved into a bunch of industrial grade equipment. Or typically you were someone who owed debt to the Elsons. The Elsons want that money regardless of your status of life. So if you owe enough and you are able to be put into a soul mender, they will, in order to have you do manual labor or maybe even become a tax collector for them or something along those lines in order to repay your debt. Typically what happens is they put you in a minted soul mender coin, which is essentially data storage. And then they put you in there as long as they need you and as long as they feel like you owe debt to them. So that's the general concept. Necromancers are allowed to tap into this. They are able to keep your soul either restricted or be able to access it or expand it.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, so in the update after the coming one, so we're going to try and release an update this next month. And then beyond that, we're going to release Soul Menders, release all the modifications for Soul Menders. So their big shtick that they have going for them is you can take this arm off and put a saw blade on, and then remove your legs and attach spider legs, etc., etc. So there's going to be a bunch of crazy modifications to improve yourself and give you really weird, unique things that you can do, like having a grappling hook arm or like a cannon that pops out of your chest. Just a bunch of crazy stuff. So we're going to have the Soul Menders in, we're going to have a bunch of modifications, and then we're going to keep on with including minor factions from a lore standpoint, because we have a lot of different manufacturers for Soul Mender and other industrial parts. So we're going to include those as minor factions, and for all minor factions, we're going to include some quest hooks. So just some interesting 1 to 2 sentence ideas that might spark an idea in your head for a mission. And we're also going to be tinkering with the ability trees based on the feedback that we're getting. Maybe add a couple more in, split some things up, whatever we think we need to do to just keep improving those as we go on.
Another thing with modifications, this doesn't just include Soul Menders. People who are losing limbs due to the Die Hard system can spend ability points to essentially be able to use these limbs. So you will be able to have prosthetics.
So if you lose your arm in an awful accident, then you can replace it with a saw blade and keep on being a logger, but a more efficient logger. So that covers everything for our major updates to the beta and the book. But we have a special announcement brought to you by the Monster and Anomaly Preservation Society. They have donated us some sweet, sweet hard Acheron cash to facilitate a creature creation competition. So we're going to release a lot more details about this in early March, but the gist is we're going to have a outline of some major categories for creatures. So those are the creature's appearance, the creature's general behavior, their strengths, their weaknesses, their origin, what environments they live in, and whatever other information you'd like to tell us. And we're going to take those, pick the 5 best that we think work best in the world of Acheron and are written the best and will be the most interesting, and then have the community vote on what their favorites are. So we're going to let you guys create some sick, awesome, amazing, disgusting, awful creatures. And the rollout for that will be submissions opening from March to late April. The top 5 we'll pick. We're going to sort of assemble a little panel committee to sift through them all and come up with a top 5. After we do that, we will be releasing those for a vote. The 5 that are selected will all get a PDF to either keep for themselves or give to friends of the final Acheron book. The 2nd and 3rd runners-up will have their creature concepts illustrated and included in the bestiary, and whatever our community's top pick is will have a half-page illustration included in the book. So we hope that everyone brings their most favored awful creations, and it should be a good time.
Yeah. So that's basically it. We're going to try and do this more regularly. But I'm glad that you guys are sticking with us, and we hope to horrify you in the future.
And we'll talk to you soon.